Well, thanks for making time for us.
My pleasure.
So we'll talk for about 10 minutes and we'll just take the best parts and get this ready to run on Pub Date.
Cool.
Yeah. So just sort of a broad question to start out with, like the essays here, have a lot of different subjects. How did the idea for the book come about?
The idea came about from my publishers. They said, we like your writing style, and would you ever consider writing a book of personal essays? And so the idea was to write a book of embarrassing stories. Just like the general theme was supposed to be embarrassment. And that's kind of how it started out, with a couple of stories, like the one about my penis and the one about and the one about the water park in New Jersey. But then I kind of ran out of embarrassing stories, or I realized that I wasn't really embarrassed by much in life anymore. So then I just sort of broadened the whole book into just random topics.
Right. And so what, for every writer, the writing process is different. I mean, the essays are relatively short. Can you just sit down and write an entire one, or how does the process work for you?
Well, because I've been doing TV for so long, I find that it's hard for me to sit down and sit still for long periods of time. I mean, TV is all about get your energy up and be crazy and be high energy and then like go home and collapse. And writing requires a very different kind of sustained energy. And so I was writing the book basically in my spare time. I'd say like, oh, I've got a couple of free days, so let me sit down and write an essay. And it was a lot harder to do than I thought it was going to be. So I basically wrote the book over the course of a year in my free time. And it was kind of a brutal experience because I would tear my hair out. I wanted the book to be an easy read, and it's actually kind of difficult sometimes to make something an easy read. Because also I was torturing myself. I have a master's degree in journalism. I know the basics, the fundamentals of writing, and that a lot of times would get me tripped up. I'd be like, oh, I have a dangling modifier here. I can't move from this table until I fix that. And so it was kind of paralyzing.
Yeah. So, but have you stopped correcting people's grammar?
I don't do it aloud. I do it in my head. But so we have a morning meeting at the Chew, and we go through the script, intros and outros and stuff like that. And there's a script supervisor there, and she's fantastic, and she's always listening to the rehearsal because through our microphones. And I'll be like, oh yeah, that pronoun has no antecedent, and or I'll say you need the subjunctive case here, and so she loves it. So so I'm having a good time correcting the grammar of the writers at the Chew for the script supervisor. But right. I notice bad grammar, but I don't correct it. I mean, because I'm not perfect either. I make my fair share of mistakes.
And you're not a psychopath, right?
I'm not a psychopath, not to my knowledge anyway.
So it occurs to me that writing embarrassing stories about yourself and writing embarrassing stories about someone else are like two totally different things. And some of the essays in the book are pretty candid. Was it difficult to write those essays that are a little bit more revealing?
It wasn't difficult for me to write the essays about myself at all. For some reason, after being on TV for about 15 years, I kind of feel like whatever. There's really not too much that isn't going to. How do I say this? After 15 years of being on television, I kind of have learned to not care anymore about embarrassing myself. I've embarrassed myself so many times on television. I mean, I've said ridiculous things. I've done stupid stuff. I don't even get embarrassed anymore because it's not even worth it. Like, embarrassment is kind of a waste of time. But I won't embarrass other people. At least I really tried not to. I also struggle with this book so much because I didn't want to embarrass my husband. I didn't want to embarrass my family. So I didn't want to use them in the way that a lot of other writers use their family members to be the butt of a joke. Like, I was not going to do that. If I made a penny on this book, I would feel terrible if I did it at somebody else's expense. And so I tried to keep everything from my own perspective and let myself be the butt of as many jokes as possible.
Yeah. But it's still pretty, I mean, have your parents read it?
Not yet.
Okay.
They're terrified, but do you think they should be worried?
Well, no, just the one the essay, I guess about grammar when you're, is it your father, I guess, has to go into the basement?
Into the basement. No, my dad, Mike, is an awesome guy. Like, grammar is not his thing. He doesn't give a shit about, about proper grammar. So he wouldn't care at all about that.
Right. So you referenced this, but you know, I'm intrigued by one of the kind of serious topics in this book, which is, you know, as a sort of public media personality, you know, over these 15 years, you have had to develop a pretty thick emotional skin, and you have seen some people write, you know, terrible things about you on social media.
Yep.
Did it take you a long time to realize, like, I have to get a thicker skin?
It did. It took me 15 years. I mean, and I don't think your skin ever gets thick enough, quite frankly. I'm lucky that 99.999% of all the things that people say about me on social media, as far as I know, are positive. Like, my fan base is a lovely bunch of people. They really are. They say nice things. They're usually very polite. But you can have 1,000 people tell you that they love you and that you're fabulous, and then have one person just tell you that you're a piece of crap and you never should have been born and God hates you. It can still get under my skin a little bit. But going back to your question, it's taken me 15 years to be comfortable with the fact that I'm kind of a public person. You know, like, for the longest time when I did What Not to Wear, I was terrified of being recognized in public. I hated it. I would go out with caps on and sunglasses, and I just never wanted anybody to recognize me for being on television for some reason. I was afraid that they would take my picture if I wasn't wearing the perfect outfit. I was afraid that they would tell their friends that I was rude to them. I don't know. Like, then all of a sudden I just kind of got over it. I was like, it is what it is. I mean, we're living in a world now where nobody's got privacy. There's no such thing as privacy anymore. So either you get comfortable with it or you don't. And nobody is immune from these barbs that people I mean, if you have a social media account, you are going to get into a fight with somebody. Somebody is going to tell you how much they dislike something about your personality, about your house, about your dog, about your kids, you know, about what you're wearing. So we all need to develop this thicker skin, as far as I'm concerned. And the best way to do that is to sort of laugh it off. I mean, what I realize is that, you know, people who don't like me, that's okay, because I'm probably not going to like them either. I mean, chances are, if you don't like me, you're a jerk. So I don't like jerks.
Right. That's great. Well, I enjoyed the book. Congrats on it. And
you wrote the review?
Oh, no.
Okay.
Yeah, I do most of the interviewing. So
okay.
I sit there and I wait for the review to come in, and I may like be thinking months before the review comes in, oh, it would be fun to interview that person. And then if the review is like a real stinker,
then you don't get to.
It's hard for me to interview someone. So I was really happy that it was positive. So
I was too. I mean, I'll just tell you the way it went down. So the book publicist, Jen Robinson, was like, yeah, we sent your book to Kirkus, and you know, don't worry about it. They don't like anything over there. They're a little rough. So if it comes back not so great, don't take it personally. They're kind of hard on people sometimes. Right. So then when it came back as a positive review, it was like, it went around like in all caps, they liked it, you know, like, so it was, thank you to the reviewer. I don't even know the reviewer's name. I should send them a little note, but I just got the review itself, you know, with attached to it. So thank you. I'm glad you guys liked it.
You're welcome, and congrats, and I hope it goes well, and happy holidays.
Thank you. Same to you.
Okay, talk to you later.
Bye, everyone.